Hi, everybody, and happy Monday. Today's guest is Nichiola is an amazing lady and the author of the book Marley's Dream. So I have her on today because I want you to hear her story and also hear about Marley. So first of all, thank you for joining me, Nichiola. How you doing? How's your Monday?
Great.
Good.
I'm perfect. Thank you. Yes,
So,
and I have Marley's dream book. I was just reaching across the bed to get.
it's amazing.
What?
It's amazing. I love that
It
puppy.
is.
But most of all, I'm so inspired by your story. And that's why I wanted to share this with my viewers, because you yourself is such an inspiration. So before we start, because I want to let you to tell us your story, but before you start, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to tell us the story about your childhood, a memory about your childhood, something that stuck with you and kind of made you who you are today. And whenever you think about it, you just,
I wanted to thank you. It's an honor to be on your show. You're an inspiration to me, and I have so much respect for you, and I absolutely love you.
Thank you. I love you too. I have so much love for you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, the memory that sticks with me is when I was 4 or 5 in Florida at Busch Gardens. You could ride the elephant. And I said, when we were there, I said, I want to ride that elephant. And that's what I did. And just a tiny little girl, and I was up on this big elephant. And I think that was a sign of the future, that, I was fearless. And
yeah, you were, as
yes.
A little girl, you were, I told you that I actually rode an elephant once and as an adult, and even as an adult, it's it's a crazy thing, I sat at the head though. I sat at the head of the elephant, and it was, it's been like, I think it was like 15, 16 years ago, but I still, every time I think about it, it's just like such a pleasure. I was sitting up there. I would say, oh, I'm a Maharaja. And I wasn't even in India. But it was really fun. So I want you to tell my viewer about the story of your birth, when you were born and how it was. So
yes, I'm happy to share that with you. So when I was born, shortly after my birth, they did a surgery, and it was the first time they did the surgery at the hospital. And since then, they've done a lot more, but it was the first time for me, and they performed the surgery. So there was no soft spot in my skull when I was born. So they put a shunt in the skull to give the skull, the space to grow. And yes, and it was very successful, and I was very fortunate because it was very critical.
Yeah, so you actually had the surgery right after you were born, but I want you to tell my viewer about what doctors told your dad and what happened after.
So it was a lot for my dad to take in, because it's a very exciting time, right? For your child to be born, and you're filled with so much emotion and so much hope and pride. And so my dad went through a lot of emotions, but stayed strong, as hard as that was for him to hear, because they painted a very dim picture that I wouldn't go to school, that, it would be basically a vegetable, my life. And so he stayed strong, as hard as it was to hear those words. He said, no, I don't believe you. She is going to do well. She's going to be strong and healthy and do well.
Wow, it's amazing. And
it is.
The thing is, you look at you now, and you go to school, right? So tell us about, you grow up normal. Your dad never let you think that you had any disability, right?
No, he didn't. No, in fact, when I was supposed to go to kindergarten, the school said, no, she cannot come to kindergarten. So then I went to Florida, and the school phoned in to find out where I was. And when my dad told them I'm in Florida, they said, you get her back here immediately, and we will have a place in the school for her. So then I
went to school.
Yeah. So then I did go to kindergarten, and then I went to a private school in Toronto, and it was like a very high-end school, like a very high-end area, very affluent, and I flourished there. And they provided everything I needed, And I was very fortunate, very blessed.
So you went to school not knowing, again, not knowing you're disabled, just because your dad never actually acted around you, never told you.
No,
You never, you know, he never sat you down and told you, listen, did he or did he not? Like, did he
no,
ever
no, he
tell you
never,
that?
no, he always encouraged me. He always said, no, you can do it. And he was always there to support me.
So you
And
grew up normal. You grew up like a
right,
normal person. So
I did. Yeah, I had an amazing childhood. I had my summers at the cottage, and I had swimming lessons, and I went to the Winter Olympics in Alberta. So I had all the experiences that, were normal and very, very blessed.
you
And
know,
so I did
it's
skating and
so
bicycle.
amazing. It's so
Yeah,
amazing. You know what your
it is.
dad did is so amazing. And I was telling you this morning that, you know, you are basically, and I want the viewers to know that you are basically what you think you are. Like, imagine if
Exactly.
your dad had acted like that you're disabled. If your dad had accepted it that you are
Right.
disabled, you wouldn't be this person today. But the
No.
thing is, that show us how powerful our will and our perception and the way we think about everything is, right? And that's
Right.
the thing that is like really, really inspiring about the story of you and your dad, which we're going to go deeper in. And I'm sure there were times that, you know, you grew up, you went to kindergarten, you went to school, elementary school, and then you went to high school. You know, as a teenager,
Right.
you deal with so many other problems. And I'm sure a lot of people will probably told you, like, how was other family member, other people tell your dad, like, or how were they doing? Like, do you know anything about, you know, your family and the pressure that your dad was under, that telling your dad to send your daughter to, for example, to a special school? Did that happen?
My dad, there's nothing you could tell my dad about me. Like, he has this, which people refer to today as helicopter parent. Very protective. Nothing's going to hurt me. Nothing's going to be said about me. Nothing's going to be done to
That's
me.
amazing. That is
Yes,
amazing.
yeah, yes.
Yeah, but like, he
He
stood
really
up for
is.
you. He stood up for you because
He always did.
yeah,
He
because
always stood up. He would go, and he was always there to do everything with me. If I was wanting to learn to skate, we did skating and practice skating over and over again. And I remember going to a parking lot at night when the insurance company was closed, and I would practice figure eights on my bicycle, at age 8.
it's
And then the
amazing.
driving license. I did get it the first time, but he practiced every night after work with me. We would go for a drive after work, and
That is so amazing. And one
it
thing you
is.
said he was there with me, because the problems, you know, I see a lot of parents with, even with their normal kids, with kids with
Right.
no disability, they try to live for them. But the beauty of your parent, like your dad, what he did,
Yes.
he was there with you. You know, he would
Yes, he was.
encourage you. He was like a real parent, although that, you know, I really don't like the term helicopter parent. Like, I think it was like kind of not, he was there with you. That's what I can say.
Right. He
And that,
was.
yeah. And then you
Yes.
went to high school, you went to college, right? What did you study?
Yes. 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 I went to college, and yes, I did nannying and took night courses, and yes,
And
I
you
flourished. And
graduated, right?
I did. Yes. Yes. And I had moved to Calgary before I had actually graduated, and it was a different province, so different regulations. So out there, I was qualified, but Ontario, they require a little more studies. And so I did work at a daycare out in Alberta, and then moved back to Ontario, and then finished the ECE program like about 5-6 years ago.
It's amazing.
So
It's
yes, yes,
amazing. It's amazing. So now you're grown up. Now tell me
yes.
about, and now again you grew up totally normal. You went through high school. You graduated, and now tell me about your dad. Now something big happens with your dad. What is it, and how do you deal with that?
So we were in the doctor's office, and we didn't suspect anything. We were there. We're thinking that he was going to have his foot looked at because the doctor just asked to see him. And then he tested him, and he said, "I'm going to pull your license." And it was a shock for me and a shock for him. And I said, well, why are you pulling it? And he said, well, this is the mark he had. And I said, okay, well, that's, passing mark. Like it was a couple marks off. You don't normally pull the license for a couple marks off. And he said, well, I tested him right after, and it was a lot lower. So I said, okay. And I immediately went into protective mode like my dad and he said, you're going to have to start planning for a nursing home and end of life care. And I said, all right, I'm going to do everything I can for him, and left it at that. And then when we came home, my dad was so upset. He was crying. Like the last time I seen him cry like that was when his mother passed away. And it was very like disconcerting for me.
Heartbroken.
It just broke my heart, because I just wasn't used to seeing him like that. Like he's the strength and my rock, and
I know.
I just see him fall apart.
I can totally relate to that, because we are all our father's daughters, right? And for us, there are heroes, there are gods,
right. Right.
And you saw your dad crying. The first time you saw your dad crying, you told me you were like 10 years old, right?
Yes.
And I cannot imagine, like I never saw my dad crying till his mother died. And exactly what happened to your dad, right? And I was also an adult. It happened like 3-4 years ago, but I still cannot, wrap my head around it. And I know how it, so I can totally relate to that. And I can imagine, again, that goes back to your strength. As a little girl, you saw your dad crying, and now as an adult woman, you see your dad crying and this heartbroken. And somehow, again, your story is like so inspiring. I keep telling this in my head, and I keep going through that, and you not accepting what the doctor is telling your dad is basically what your dad did for you, right?
Right.
So you just say, no, I'm not going to accept it, and I'm going to do whatever I can do. What are you doing then?
Yeah, so then I did meet with some other nurses and said, can you possibly test him again and find out, what the issues are? And then I said to him, we will look into getting a driver's license for you, because the doctor pulled the driver's license and diagnosed him on the same day, which is a lot to take in. It's a lot to process. I think, if anything, we've learned that you have to do things gently. You can't rush anything, and because it's too much to absorb, right? It's overload. So everything has to be a gentle, loving process. And that's what my book is about. Having love and empathy.
I wish everybody were like you, because I know it's such a cliche, but the moment you understand that everything is love, and love is the only thing, basically.
Exactly.
Your whole life changes. Everything changes. But
it does.
It's so amazing that, again, I wish everybody was like you. And I totally agree that everything, especially, even in the medical field and anywhere, but especially in medical field, when we give people news like that, I wish we were like more gentle, and that is really, really inspiring thing to say. So continue.
So we did do the driving test. Unfortunately, when you're labeled, there's a lot more pressure. You don't get to choose where you're going to drive, and you have two people in the car with you, and they both have, the one has a clipboard, and they're constantly writing while you're driving. And so you're really scrutinized. It's a lot of pressure. So he didn't get his driver's license back, but he knew that I was in his corner and that I was going to support him.
Good. And the doctors actually told you that you have to put him in a house, but again, you're taking care of your dad.
Right, I am. Exactly. Yes, the doctor suggested that, and I said, no, I'll always be there for him. And he had said that to me many times. I do not want to be in a retirement home. I do not want to be in a nursing home. They're for old people. I'm not old. And I said, that's right, Dad. Whatever you want.
And you've been actually taking care of your dad for the last,
he was diagnosed it'll be 4 years ago. He'll be 84 this year. Amazing. He was diagnosed at 80.
It's amazing. So, again, it's just like, I cannot let go of this. We all manifest who we are, and he shows us how everything is connected. Basically, the day when your dad told the doctors, no, I'm not going to accept this. And he
Right.
raised you as a normal kid, and he was there
Right.
with you all the time. Basically, he chose you as his allies. Like, imagine if
Right.
you hadn't done that. Imagine if you didn't
Yes.
grow up that way. Your
That's right.
dad,
I would have a totally different life.
exactly.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he wouldn't have anything.
No,
So
that's right.
that's the most important thing. We have to know everything is connected, and whatever we do in life kind of come back to us. And
It does.
that is the amazing part of your story. And again, I cannot stop. I cannot get it out of my head. Like, I've been like, we've been talking for like 3-4 weeks now, and I know you're
Yes.
like, so. And again, it's so amazing. And I try to point this out, because this is how I try, at least I preach, and I promise myself I'm going to live as I preach. And I'm going to always be thinking how I act and what I choose.
Right.
Because whatever you choose, whatever you do, you actually do it to yourself. You basically, if you give love, love will come to you.
It does. Absolutely. You always have to choose love and empathy and gentle, kind ways, right? Because if you do go down the other path, it's going to be bumpy. It's going to be rough.
It's going to be the same, it's again, the both sides of this spectrum works. If you give out hate, I truly know that if you are full of hate, you will only attract hate. And if you're full of love, is the same. Now, tell me about Marley. This is the time. This is the part
Marley,
that I
I'm
love.
going to bring Marley. Marley's sitting here beside me.
Oh my God!
And she wore her special sparkly dress.
She's beautiful. Like, oh my God, thank you. I really need puppy love. I know how.
Everybody needs love. Everybody needs puppy love. She has her special sparkly dress from her godmother.
She's amazing. She's amazing. Oh my God, she's beautiful.
Say hello, Marley.
Hi, Marley. Adorable. Tell me, how did you, what made you get her, and how did you find her? Tell me the story of how you found Marley and how did she came into your life.
Oh, absolutely. So my boyfriend at the time suggested that I get a puppy for my dad to help him feel better and to bring love and hope into his life. And so I said to my dad, I think we should get a puppy. And he said, no, absolutely not. No puppy. And if you bring a puppy home, I'm going to get rid of the puppy. So I'm telling the breeder about it. And she said, oh, that could be really bad for the puppy. Like, if you bring the puppy home and then you have to get rid of the puppy, that would be like, it just wouldn't be fair to the puppy. And I said, no, I know my dad. If I bring the puppy home, he will fall in love with the puppy. So my hairdresser told me about a breeder that had puppies, and she would have the puppies in a few months. So I was anxiously waiting the 3 months, and then I went to find Marley. And it was a pretty little country farm and rolling hills. It was beautiful. And I met Marley, and she really stood out. She had, the big brown sparkly eyes, and she was wiggly, and she came right to me, and she was so excited. And I just fell in love with her instantly. And she wasn't whimpering or whining, for when I took her from her home that she knew, and it was instant love. And then I brought her home, and my dad picked her up and just held her for,
how can you not, how can
yes.
So
yeah.
she basically changed your life and your
She really did.
With love.
Yes.
And how did Marley's dream come together? How did you because again, I understand, like, she enters your life and
yes,
brings a lot of love, and now you decide, a good person that you are, you're gonna spread the same love, basically? Or how did it
yes, that's what I thought. Like, it was very hard for me when I was fighting for my dad to go against the doctor. My doctor and I were fine and we're getting along very well until this came up with my dad. And it was difficult to go against a doctor. I didn't want the doctor to be uncomfortable. I didn't want to cause hard feelings, but I had so much love in my heart for my dad that caused me to want to do everything I could for him. So I just wanted to share that love and put that message of love out there so that the doctor and everyone could see that, everyone needs love, and that makes everything better.
Exactly. And I want everybody to know that you did it by yourself. So
yes,
you were you are like by yourself taking care of your dad, no
Right.
others help, and that shows how strong you are. And again, I think
Yes.
the strength comes from your dad too, you know.
It does. Yes.
He raised you the way that you are.
Yes.
You know, every time something happens to you, how do you talk to yourself? You know, again, one of my obsession is that, you know, we always have this conversation with ourselves, with our brain,
Right.
you know,
Yes.
especially the part of our brain that want to keep us back, you know, the part
Right.
that creates fear to hold you where you are. What is that conversation? And I really want to know, how do you talk to yourself? How do you stay happy and, like, you know, and strong?
So I did have to talk to myself quite often, and like pep talks, as my dad would say, because when my dad was diagnosed, I also was facing health issues where my liver was fatty, and then I had the breakup with my boyfriend, and so I really had to focus on me. And you know, the doctor said you really have to take care of yourself, you know, because you're facing a lot. And so then I did. I was more conscious. I did lose a lot of weight because of the breakup. And the specialist was like, "We've never seen such a healthy liver." But it's not really a good way to lose weight. But, you know, sometimes breakups happen and you do lose weight. But so then my liver was healthy. And I know that that can come back on you. So I was a lot more conscious of eating healthy and exercising. And I think I had the feeling when my health was good and physically I was healthy and strong, that made me a lot more confident. I felt like I had control of something then. And I think that's a big thing. You might not be able to, I can't control the fact that my dad has dementia. I can help him and support him. But at least I had control of my health. And that
is beautiful. That
makes a difference.
That is beautiful.
Yes.
I keep telling this over and over again. We really, truly cannot control anything outside of us, whatever that happens to us. But one thing is in our control, and it's how we react, you know, how we react to the things. So what is next for you and Marley? Oh, first of all, tell me where people can find Marley's Dream.
So everyone can find Marley on Walmart.com, on Amazon, and Marley has her own Facebook page.
Nice.
And yes, and I'm on Facebook, and so I'm happy to hear about Marley. And yes, so
I will add the link of Marley's.
Yes, please do. Or Google.
No, I will add it to the feed when I put it up on Facebook. I will add everything there. So what is next for you guys? What do you have in store?
So we're eagerly awaiting for a TV pitch for Marley. I have my own show starring Marley, and Marley's educating children about the pandemic, about COVID virus, about being safe and staying healthy, and educational needs too.
My God, that is amazing. Speaking of pandemic, you know, again, now you're taking care of your dad.
Right.
How did you deal with this whole pandemic? And again, I know he's in a risk group, right? What did you do? I'm not surprised. You know, you're strong, but
yes,
share with me.
So he's been really good. I remember when we first went to the store and there was a long lineup of people, and he said, "We better get in there. There's a big sale. Look at the big lineup of people." So it was funny. He said, "You can buy whatever you want." So
that is amazing.
Said, "Oh, it's great, Dad." Yeah. So he looked at it in a positive manner, which I'm very happy. He hasn't been scared. I say we just let's wipe our hands, you know, so we don't get any germs, and just kind of kept it low key so he's not anxious. And you know, or I'll say when his support worker comes, I'll say, "Oh, we're going to shower," so the doctor, in case the doctor wants to check us for the virus, so he doesn't mind getting all ready. So that it's actually helped us.
That is so amazing. You know, one thing that I noticed about you and your dad both, you don't make a big deal even of big deals, you know.
Right. Yes.
You learn to make a big deal of small things, but there are people that are they're special people without, you know, again, it takes years of practice and self-control and, you know, mindfulness to get to that point. But there are people, I believe, they're just born this way. They don't make a big deal out of even big deals. And I think your dad is one of those people, because you became one of those people. You know, you are one of those people. It's No, it's so amazing. I love talking to you. At the end, I want you to, is there anything you want to share with me, with my audience? Is there anything you want to say?
I just want to, yes, put the message of love and empathy, and I think it's very critical, and that's Marley's message.
That is amazing. That is amazing. You are full of love. I want to thank you again. Really, 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 I'm so blessed and thankful, grateful for knowing you. I will follow you, and I'm actually crossing my finger for Marley's TV show, and like, you know, it's gonna be amazing. I know you're gonna get it, and it's gonna be amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Marley and I really appreciate you sharing our message.
I will. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Have an amazing Monday and see you next Monday again. Bye.